But anyway, welcome to the weekly Rocket Report. What's been going on for Rocket? I took him into the vet yesterday. Nothing serious. He was just supposed to get some blood work done. Did not get done, mainly because we got there. Well, backstory. He's was supposed to start two new medications a couple weeks back. One of them, and at the time, the vet said, before he takes this medication, he should get some blood work done to make sure it's not going to screw with the system and stuff. And then the other medication he can start right away. But we suggest that you give him this medication, these blood work done, give it to him about 2 hours before his next appointment because it'll help him relax and that kind of thing. Because that's the purpose of the drug. It's to help him relax and relieve a little bit of pain. And the reason they did that is because with the first appointment a couple of weeks back is they were unable to do a blood draw on him because he was freaking out too much. So that was the plan. Come back about a week or so later, get his blood drawn when he's on the actual drug he needs blood work done, blah, 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 no problem. Turns out the drug that he was taking that didn't require blood work gave him diarrhea that didn't go away. So we took him off that. And he's been off it for about a week and a half now or so. About a week. About a week and a half. And so his internal system is back to normal. And then we go to the vet yesterday and we tried to give him the second drug. But Rocket doesn't usually eat breakfast. And our appointment was at 9 o'clock in the morning and 2 hours before 7. And we were trying to give him food at 7, or give him medication with food before the appointment. So he'd be ready to go for his blood draw. And he didn't really eat it. He had like 2 bites. We're like, oh, that's not going to go well. But, we're doing what we can do. Again, he's not a breakfast eater. He's more of a lunch and dinner type dog. Just the way he is. And so take him to the vet, get there, and the veterinary's assistant comes out and was talking to us and said, need to get blood work done. And she asked, how much did he get his medication? We tried. He just wouldn't eat his breakfast this morning because he's not a breakfast dog. And she said, okay, we'll see what we can do. And so she takes him back and you can hear the screaming and stuff. And she comes back out without Rocket and she goes, well, here's the situation. She didn't tell us anything about the screaming of the dog, but she was telling us that the vet said that she was verifying with the vet before she was actually. I'm guessing this is all speculation here. I'm guessing what happened based on what we could hear is that she attempted to do Rocket's blood draw, but he was fighting it too much. So she went to the vet to verify whether the blood draw needed to be done. And the vets told her for that medication, it's not necessary. I mean, a basic blood draw would be fine, but it's not necessary for that particular medication. It was actually more for the other one, which they did not tell us before. And they they switched on us there. And for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so she comes out and she goes, well, he doesn't need a blood draw. And it's okay for him to take this medication and stuff. And we asked about side effects and that kind of thing. So diarrhea might be, a side effect for this drug. And, and if it is, monitor it and see if it gets better over time or not. And, if it doesn't get better, just take him off of it and we'll try to find something else for him. And so yesterday we sat around for like 15 minutes, just basically conversation and waiting for stuff and no blood draw, no nothing. So it was just a little trip over to the vet that we didn't technically need to do. But it's there. And, so he get some? He took some last night for dinner, right? Did he? Trying to remember. Did he eat his dinner last night? Yes, he did. He had it last night. That's right. Eventually, when we actually had dinner last night after the stream, he didn't eat at first. He just wasn't hungry, I guess, because he wasn't eating really anything. He just wasn't. Sometimes he does that sometimes. Sometimes he just doesn't feel like eating. It's just the way it is. And I asked Mrs. Gimpy, I go, did you give him lunch today? And she goes, yes. And I went, okay, that's part of the problem. Because usually when she gives him lunch in quotes again is not around noontime. It's usually about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which it interferes with his ability to eat and that kind of thing. So anyway, just sneezing now. So anyway, so we had a late lunch. Dinner rolls around about 7 o'clock or so. He is not really hungry, more than likely. So he kind of nibbles at his dinner. But about 9 o'clock or so, yeah, 9 o'clock. I just said I gotta try make sure he gets his medication before it gets too late and that kind of thing. So I go get his dinner and he eats it. He eats it, and no problem. I mean, the only thing is it wasn't like I said. He had some of the dose in the morning, and then or sorry, did he? No, I'm mixed up here. That's right. His breakfast, he didn't eat all. He only had parts of his breakfast in the morning, and then we saved it for his dinner, which he didn't get until like 12 hours later. So he basically had two half doses when he was supposed to get in full dose because it's supposed to be once every 12 hours, and so he basically had a full dose over the course of 12. Wait, longer than it should have been, and so it wasn't probably super effective, but we'll see. So that was last night, and then this morning. Um, Mrs. Gimpy, we said, well, let's try to take him out for a walk in the morning and see if we can get him to eat, that kind of thing. So she took him out about 9, 8, somewhere around there, before we got the sun really came out. So yeah, it's about 8 o'clock or so. She took him out for a walk. Comes back and he nibbles on his breakfast a little bit, and that's it. So our test process for this new medication is not going very well, simply for the fact that he's not eating what he's supposed to be eating, what he would normally be eating for whatever reason. And it's not like he's not hungry. It's just he's just not eating when he's supposed to be eating. He's eating when he feels like he's eating, what feels like to eat. And that's it. So he's just being picky, and that's it. So we don't know how this medication is actually working. Although he is currently with Mrs. Gimpy in our office and he's sleeping. But that doesn't mean shit for him because that's the way he is anyway. There's nothing new there. And again, this medication is supposed to help him relax and help deal with a little bit of pain and that kind of stuff that he's experiencing as an older dog. But in other news, the dog will eventually eat it. Just leave it out until he eats it. The problem, there's an issue with that, simply that because if we were what happens when we leave it out for him to eat is he ends up walking through it, and then he trails it, the food across the floor and that kind of stuff, because it's not kibble. His food is basically chicken or canned food, that kind of stuff. It's the easiest way to get him to eat all his supplements and medication and stuff. That's the food he likes the best, and that's the easiest way to get him the stuff that he needs to take. And kibble doesn't cover that. It just doesn't happen. So he likes his chicken and he likes his canned food, and we mix those two together, sprinkle the medication and supplements and stuff on top of that, and usually eats it no problem. It's just that for the last day or so, he's just been very picky, which again is not unusual for him. He does that. He'll go a couple of days where he's kind of picky, and the next following days he's super pig. So it's just the way he is. He's always been that way too. Well, no, he actually hasn't. He has not been this way since. The only reason he's like this now is because when Mickey was around, he knew that if he didn't eat his food, Mickey would. So Rocket always ate his food. You put it down in front of him, he ate it. No questions asked. It doesn't matter what time of day, how many times he's eaten in a day, he would always eat it because Mickey was there, and that was a challenge, right? But now that Mickey isn't here, Rocket knows that he's not in a rush anymore. He can do whatever he wants. He can eat when he wants. He can eat as much as he wants. And yeah, so some days he'll get all his meds, and some days he'll just get some of it. Yep, that's the way it's working. Again, that's the way it is. Some days he gets exactly what he's supposed to be getting, and other days he doesn't. And the days he doesn't is usually the days where he's the grumpiest because he's not properly medicated. So, and grumpy for Rocket is There's no real difference. I guess to be honest, there's no real difference between Grumpy Rocket and regular Rocket. It's more of a joke than anything else. He's not a grumpy dog at all. He has his moments where he doesn't want to be bugged, but that's usually when he's sleeping. But when he's awake and stuff, he's not in a bad mood. He's actually a pretty happy dog. So, especially for an 18-year-old. And then I was about to say was yesterday at the vet when we were waiting for Rocket to get his blood work done. A lady came in with two dogs. She had it looked like a little pit bull almost, and then she had a Jack Russell Terrier. And she comes in with those two, and the pit bull, she's kind of she's chilled out for the most part, and but the Jack Russell, he's all, you can see his little stub tail just going mile a minute, and he's going around, he's sniffing everybody and saying hello and all this kind of stuff, and she sits in and Rocket was in my lap at the time, and the Jack Russell comes up and he sniffs me. The Jack Russell sniffs my leg, and then he kind of like stands up to, get more attention so I could scratch his head. So I do that. And then he realizes, oh, you got a dog in your lap. And he starts sniffing Rocket, and Rocket's all, what the fuck is going on? Because he can't hear, he can't see. He just knows that he's in a place with weird smells. Next thing you know, he's getting sniffed by this other dog. Not a big deal, but Rocket was a little surprised by that one. But everybody laughed, and, whatever, work it. And, talking to the woman and stuff, her Jack Russell is 12 years old, but doing pretty good. He's pretty active for 12. And then the little pit, which again, she called it a pit bull, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, I don't know if that's really a pit bull. It might be a pit bull mutt, but it didn't have it wasn't big enough to be a pit bull. It was just a little bit bigger than the Jack Russell, and within Jack Russell was just a little bit bigger than Rocket. So not very big for a pit bull, very small, and at least the ones you usually see. And it didn't have the distinctive facial features and that kind of stuff. But she calls it what they called it, and wasn't gonna argue. So we just talking, and he said, Jack Russell's 12, and then the pit was 17. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And she goes, yeah, 17 years, 3 months. And I go, yeah, Rocket's 18 and 5. And she goes, wow. We exchanged. You just said, they look good and stuff, and yeah, so they were doing well. 18, those teenage years, they can be rough for a family. Well, when they're 18, you're supposed to kick them out, though, Jeff. They're old enough to take care of themselves at 18, so you kick them out. Also, in other news this week, Rocket has officially voted. No, he hasn't. But Rocket is technically old enough to vote. I was really tempted to register him. Really tempted to register him before Tuesday, because Tuesday is voting day for us here. I'm sure I can get away with it. Just bring him over to I've been voting basically the same. I've lived here, right, for like close to 40 years now. And the way it works is, you can either, before we started doing, mail-in voting, since COVID for the most part, I'd been doing sometimes mail-in voting for a couple of years before then. But our voting location we're supposed to go to vote in person is right around the corner from us. And I was tempted this year to go take Rocket to the voting booths and stuff and get them registered to vote and see if they would go for that, because I know the people somewhat that that handle that, because it's their garage. They open up the garage and set it all up for people to vote and that kind of thing. Very cool of them to do. And so I kind of know them because I've been going there so many years, and I was tempted to bring Rocket over and go, hey, can we register him to vote just for kicks? And I have a feeling they'd go for it, but they shouldn't, because you're allowed to register for vote on the day up to the day of voting, and that's just, I think it would be funny, but I don't know. I'd probably get in trouble. I would go for it too, but I might also get in trouble for it too, because that's technically voter fraud. And welcome back, Soul. I think that's technically voter fraud. So a couple of people might get in trouble for that. I would cause a national incident. I know, that's the funny part. That's why I would do it. I would do it for the attention. just to say, hey, my 18-year-old dog is registered to vote, and he voted yes on 50. So, for those who don't understand, okay, we're going to get a little political here for a second. California has, this is a Tuesday is a special, it's the official voting day, right? If we had stuff to actually vote for, if we were electing people and that kind of stuff. This year is an off year. There's no electing representatives or senators or presidents in an odd year for us. And so what Tuesday is, it's a special election for a particular Proposition 50. And this is for there's actually something that attached to it too, but I forget what it is. But the main reason is to basically allow the state of California to start changing district lines for our representation. And what this means for non-Americans is we have representatives in Congress. We have representatives and we have senators. We have 2 senators per state, and then our representatives are based on the population of the state. And each district has so many people in it. It's all because the amount of representatives you have in a state is based on the state's population. So how many districts you have is based on the population. And usually these districts are adjusted or redrawn or remade or stuff like that every 10 years when the census is done. Census is done every 10 years, and 2020 was the last one. 2030 is the next one. And that's when district lines usually get drawn based on population changes. Well, because of the bullshit political stuff that's going on in the United States right now, with other states that are cheating the system, we'll just say, California has it built into their constitution as effective a few years back, saying that the state can redraw district lines when needed if the voters agree to that. And that's fine. And that's what Proposition 50 is. Proposition 50 is going to the population or to the voters of California going, do you want the government to redraw district lines this year? And it's going to the people to vote. If they say yes, we do it. If they say no, we don't do it. Plain and simple. And of course, this is a Democratic Party thing, motivated thing. And the reason they're doing it is because what Texas and some other Republican-run states have done is they've gone in and redrawn their district lines to screw Democrats in their states in order to give them more Republican seats in their governments and in the federal government as well. And California came out and said, since you're doing that, we're going to do it our way, which is the right way. We're putting it to the voters, and if they say yes, we'll do our redrawing, the way we want. And if they say no, we won't. So that's what Tuesday is about. It's about voting. Do we want to do it? And we'll see how it goes. So yes, we have 2 senators. Getting a census the last time I was supposed to come. Getting a census. You don't always, census is you're supposed to fill out the paperwork every time it's only every 10 years. You've never been ashamed to be an American until this year. Yeah. And of course, the main reason for this whole redistricting thing too is, again, more political stuff, is next year, 2026, is the big it's the midterm for the president. And so 2 years after the president is elected, and it's basically what usually happens, not always, but usually what happens is the party in power when the president is elected only stays in power sometimes if the president is doing well. If there's a lot of criticisms of that president, which there almost always is, the 2 years later is all the representatives and the senators that are up for re-election at that time tend to get flipped around a little bit. So, and they're expecting that in 2026. And this is why the whole gerrymandering thing is going on in both Republican and Democratic states. And again, both parties do this. This isn't anything special. But no party is better than the other one as far as when this particular situation. They both do it They both know they do it. And if you don't admit that your party does it, you're just lying to yourself and everyone else. Both parties do it. It's not a surprise. And and again, this is all about trying to maintain power in Congress is really what it's about. So, but the thing is it's so important this time around because in 2026, if because right now the House of Representatives and the Senate are both controlled by the Republicans, and in 2026, the way things are looking or headed towards, and this is why the redistricting thing has been going on in the Republican states, is because they're trying to fight this. Because right now it looks like the Democrats are going to take the House back, and there's a possibility they could take the Senate back too, which means, and this is the important part, if the Democrats take the House back, Trump's going to get impeached in January 2027. As soon as all those new people get sworn in January, because they get elected in November, they get sworn in January the following year. As soon as that happens, impeachment's going to start. You know it is. And the important, which is not a huge deal unless the Democrats also control the Senate. If they can manage to get the Senate back in 2027, Trump is in deep shit. And all his people are in deep shit. Yeah, I know, it's a big if. It's a big if. The House of Representatives is going to split, is going to flip, more than likely. But the Senate is going to be a little bit tougher because there's not as many senators up for re-election in 2026. And that's the hard part. But it is possible. But again, if the House is controlled by the Democrats in 2027, the impeachment's going to start. Just for technicality stuff. It won't really do much, but it's going to happen. Senators are in for 6 years each. For 6 years a term. Representatives are 2 years a term. It's sad evolution to say that political gridlock has never looked so good, except that it is not good. It is not good. It's not good at all. Yep, it's going to be. And for the non-Americans that don't know, if you haven't heard, our government is currently shut down because the budget that the Republicans put forth is conveniently leaving stuff out that the Democrats really want there to be in. Specifically, it's Affordable Care Act money for the most part, which is Obamacare is the more common name, and the Republicans are cutting funding on it, or they're not renewing funding. I think that's the proper. Actually, I think the proper explanation is the funding for the Affordable Care Act is up for renewal, and the Republicans are not renewing it, and as a result, people that are on that insurance system, which is our, socialized medicine system, that 20 million Americans are on currently, I think is what the number is it basically, it's people that can't normally afford insurance for whatever reason, health insurance, is they can go to the Affordable Care Act and they can get insurance and it gets subsidized. So, but that money, comes from the federal government, and because of the budget the Republicans have put forth for this period of time, is they're not renewing the money that's supposed to be going into the system. So as a result, those people that currently have insurance, their premiums are going to basically double, which they can't afford. That's why they're on the Affordable Care Act in the first place, is because they can't afford their insurance, and doubling the prices doesn't help. So that's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. So anyway, and as a result, this budget that needs to, and this is the fun part about how our government works, is a lot of the stuff that they vote on just requires a simple majority to pass. So in the Senate, it needs 51 senators to agree, and it gets passed. And then once it does, it goes to the House to get approved. And again, and normally it would be a simple majority there too. However, the budget is different because I think they're doing filibuster type stuff, because this is a very important thing. This is the budget. This is some simple rinky-dink law that usually goes through the Congress. This is the budget for the country, so it's a big deal. As a result, they don't need a simple majority. They need a major majority, which in this case is 60%. So they have to get 60 senators to approve the budget. which is not as easy as it sounds, because if it was even though the Republicans control the Senate, they only can control the Senate because they have 54 senators. They need 60. So they need to convince at least 6 Democrats to come over. And they can't do it because the Democrats are going, you're screwing everybody with this, with this cut or non-renewal of funds to the ACA. And we're not going to vote for it until you fix that. And government's in shutdown for over 2 weeks or coming up on 3 weeks, something like that, whatever number we're up to. So that's the big deal right now. Skybird, yes. Yes, we need the lady in the lake to pick our leadership. It would work. If you're on minimum wage and the company doesn't have you over 30 hours like most companies, then you're on ACA. Exactly. Exactly. And even then, I mean, it's not even whether, and again, that this is another law too for companies, is if you work 40 hours over, I think it's 32 hours is the cap or is the requirement. If you work 32 hours for a company, they have to provide benefits to you. You don't have to take the benefits, but they have to be offered to you. And benefits being healthcare, retirement, that kind of stuff, paid time off, whatever. So what a lot of bigger companies do, Walmart, they make it so that people don't work over 30 hours. They do that on purpose so they don't have to pay these people benefits. And as a result, because those people don't have those requirements, they don't have health insurance. So they have to go to the Affordable Care Act and go, hey, I don't make enough money to have regular insurance. Can you help me out? And they go, yes, we can. And then, they try to find you the best deal possible that matches your income. And that's how that works. So I added comment to ACA. What does any of this have to do with Rocket? Because Rocket, the reason this is on the Rocket report is because if you missed it, Jeff, I want to register Rocket to vote so he can vote for Proposition 50 here in California on Tuesday. That's why this is part of the Rocket report. Because Rocket, I'm debating whether I should register Rocket to vote. If I do, there's a very good chance I will go to prison. So just to let you know. So you get 31 and a half hours or 30 hours. It doesn't matter. It's just, they just make it so you don't break the 32-hour barrier. Because once you hit the 32-hour thing, they have to provide benefits to you. Again, you don't have to take them, but they have to offer them to you. It has to be an option. Hopefully points those folks to the federal support. Of course they do. But they don't pay for it. Exactly. Wait just their healthcare. Is there healthcare in prison? Yes, there is actually. But I have healthcare now, so I have healthcare now. There's a lot of streaming in prison, so prisoners can make money. So I didn't know that. I don't think I've seen anybody streaming from inside a prison before, but I wouldn't doubt it. Then register the dog, then no loss. Well, who's going to take care of Rocket and Mrs. Gimpy if I'm in prison, Jeff? Some go to jail to get free dental. Yeah, there's free healthcare in prison. If you do the right things, you're set. It's not that long ago. I would doubt it, Leo. But how are they doing? What kind of streaming are they doing? Just sitting there in front of the computer eating up the prison's Wi-Fi or network resources? Is that how they're doing it? I'm guessing they're not doing any in real life stuff where they're walking around with a mobile camera and microphone, doing their remote streaming. I'm guessing they're sitting in front of a computer. Yeah, work programs, help desk, that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's work programs out there. Grandma Gimpy. I like how Jeff's so eager for me to go to prison. Gaming stream in the prison would get money for it as well, if they got enough viewers. Do they play Prison Architect? It seems like they'd be a prisoner streaming as you play Prison Architect, as you're plotting your way to get out of the prison, or how to manage the prison in a better way. They would get so much trouble. I'd have to pay an overpriced amount to get the computer. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with how prisons work these days, of what kind of resources they get and that kind of thing. But anyway, I think we're done with this. This was not meant to be a political stream at all. It just so happened that, like I said, I've been kicking around the idea of registering Rocket to vote because he's technically old enough to vote, even in human years. So what are we doing today? Trying to not take over the world. Not take over the world.